weekend, we flew to Washington, D.C. Because my daughter was going to go, I was trying to find affordable prices. And I ended up going with Frontier Airlines. I had heard the saying, fly Frontier, you might hit a Frontier. But because it was like $300 cheaper to fly with them than with American Airlines, I decided to, forget about it. Halfway through the flight, the pilot comes on the speakers like everybody's strapped down because we're about to hit a little bit of turbulence. Like, it can't be that bad. That was not turbulence. That was the tribulation. I never knew there could be earthquakes in the sky. The plane was shaking so bad, it had me asking God for forgiveness for stuff I did 10 years ago. Interceding for our life. I now know the 5 stages of grief because of that flight. And that was not the only one. Spirit was worse. If you're an atheist, all you need is one round trip on Spirit Airlines. It will have you talking to God before you arrive to your next destination. We just came from Washington, D.C. and we had to take Spirit Airlines to Dallas. We are boarding this plane. All of a sudden, the plane just goes. The lights turn off. The entire engine shuts off. I don't think it's supposed to do that. The pilot seemed calm and collected, so I was like, maybe he just turned it off by accident. Me being nosy, I'm like, let me go ask the flight attendants what's going on. Excuse me, is it normal for the airplane to just turn off like that? We don't know. Do you not know? Or do you want me to stay on this plane and die? But to make it worse, we were almost done boarding. All of a sudden, the airplane just shuts off again. Oh no, get me off this flight.
Storytime about how I kissed every teacher I ever had a crush on and never got caught. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, I said I mean Instagram. Growing up, I was a spoiled brat. My parents gave me literally everything I ever wanted. For my 15th birthday, I told my dad that if he didn't get me a BMW, I would run away. So on my 15th birthday, I got the BMW. My parents never said no to anything. One time I told my parents I wanted to have a party at my house and they said no. I threw a tantrum and started to cry. My dad pulled out his credit card and told me to stop crying and I could go buy whatever I wanted. And I pretty much maxed out his card. He did punish me for a month, but all he really took away was the TV. As you can see, I was completely entitled. And yes, looking back, I would love to punch myself. I was a complete brat. When I got into high school, I went boy crazy. My parents told me they did not want me having boyfriends, but of course, I put up a fight. And they had no choice but to let me have boyfriends. I would bring them over to my house all the time, and I would always take them up to my room and lock our door. My dad told me one time to open the door, and I wouldn't, so he just left me. Eventually, I got bored with all my boyfriends, so I would just break up with them. But one day, this new high school teacher comes in. We made eye contact for about 5 seconds. I was obsessed. Follow for part 2. Storytime about how I kissed every high school teacher I had a crush on and never got caught. Disclaimer, it's not my storytime, it's I mean Instagram. After we locked eyes for about 5 seconds, he looked away. But I was totally obsessed. He was like the most perfect guy I'd ever seen. And the first thing I did was go to his classroom. I knocked on the door and as soon as he saw me, he smiled and said, come in. We talked for about 2 minutes and he told me that he was only substituting. So I knew I needed to make my move really quick. Fortunately, I was not taking the classes that he was substituting, but I had to find a way to get close to him. So I started watching everything that he did. My school had a big outdoors area and there were lots of tables around. And I noticed that he would go behind the library to eat his lunch. So I started going behind the library to eat my lunch. I decided to get there before he did so that it would be a coincidence. As soon as he saw me, he waved, but he sat at another table. So I grabbed my food and went over to sit with him. That's when I started asking him if he had a girlfriend. He got super red. This guy was blushing. And I knew right away that he probably had a crush on me. He basically didn't give me a yes or a no about the girlfriend, but I didn't care. But I didn't want to make my move right away. I said for the next 3 days I sat with him at lunch. Finally, he asked me, don't you have friends? And I said yes, but they're all annoying. That's when I leaned in for the kiss. And no, he did not pull away. The kiss lasted for about 10 seconds. As soon as we pull away, he starts looking around to see if anybody saw. And he told me that I need to find someone my own age. By the way, he was 24, I was 17. Next day at lunch, I asked him if he wanted to go to my car. And we ended up kissing 3 more times that day. That's when he asked me for my phone number. Follow for part 3. As we were sitting in my car kissing, he asked me for my number. Gave him my number, and that's when he said that because he's only a substitute teacher, we could still hang out outside of school. And I said, of course. The following week, he was gone because the teacher he was substituting for was back. And no, he never called me. A few months later, we had another substitute teacher. And this guy was also really good looking. He wasn't as good looking as the first one, but good enough to distract me. This time I got lucky. He was substituting for drama. And I took drama twice a week. So I knew that I was going to be seeing him often. First thing I needed to do was get him to notice me. But this took a lot longer than the other guy. For the first week, I would just try to talk to him, but he was not having it. He would literally tell me to just go sit down. But I couldn't give up. One day after class, I decided to stay late. I knew that he would be staying late as well, so I knew that was my in. I went up to him and asked him if I could help him out. He said yes, and he basically told me to put away some of the costuming. As we were doing that, I just started talking to him. And I swear to God, for a minute, this guy forgot that I was a student. We started talking about everything. By the end of the conversation, he told me that I was really mature and that I made him laugh. So the next day, I stayed after school with him again. This time we were backstage organizing props. drops, and we were completely isolated. That's when I told him that I thought he was really cute and that he was probably a good kisser. Then he walks up to me and kisses me. Oh my god, the butterflies in my stomach. When he stopped kissing me, I pulled him in and kissed him again. That's when he came to his senses and told me that I needed to go home. So I did, and the following week he was not there. Apparently he had a family emergency, but we know it's a lie. Looking back on my behavior, I'm totally horrified. Where did I get the courage to do all the things I did? I never spoke to any of them again, but I did see one of them on Instagram. I did not follow him. He's now got a big beer belly. Ew. Definitely don't do what I did. If I could go back, I would not have done it. Bye.
I just ran into Walmart Katniss Everdeen style because I was about to poop my pants, and it was either Walmart or it was the local library. And Walmart seemed like a better location for what I was about to do. So I ran into the bathroom. All the stalls were taken except for one, and I ran into the one remaining stall, and I was in there for a minute because turns out I was actually constipated. Apparently everybody else in the bathroom was also constipated because we all sat there in silence for like 5 minutes. I could hear no other bowel movements. There wasn't really any toilet flushing. Like, we were all sitting there in silence. And at first I thought, oh, they must all be constipated like myself. And then I started to feel like the situation felt a little bit sus. I wondered if maybe something weird was about to go down. Eventually people kind of started to clear out, and I was happy because I was hoping to somehow get the bathroom to myself because I was in such severe pain that I wanted to scream out in pain. But the person next to me wouldn't leave. I don't know if they were also as constipated as I was, but I was in there for a good 20 to 25 minutes. I was in severe pain. They wouldn't leave. And what really pissed me off was that several minutes in, they started listening to the news. It sounded like it was the news, but it was Portuguese. They were listening to the news in Portuguese for like 15 minutes, and they did flush a few times, but I figured maybe they were also constipated because you know that scene in This Is 40 where Paul Rudd is on the toilet and he's like, I flush as I go. Somebody's walking past my car right now and I feel really uncomfortable. But they're a mom and they're like pushing little strollers, so they're probably like not judgmental, right? Moms can be pretty judgmental. Oh, it's a dad. He has gauges. Huge. Really nice tattoo sleeve. He didn't give me any judgy looks. Bye, cool dad. Or a kidnapper. You never know. It just seemed very selfish of my stall neighbor to be watching the news in the stall. Like, I don't care how constipated you are. I was also constipated. I was so close to cussing them out. I wanted to be like, turn off your damn phone. I am giving birth to a dragon fruit over here and I need to focus. And I tried to like pull my legs up like squatty potty style, and then people tried to get into my stall, which stressed me out and just scared it right back up. And then I remembered that I'd seen a TikTok that shows you how to deal with constipation. So I typed in constipation and there's a whole constipation TikTok. So I was just sitting there doing toilet yoga until it came out.